Welcome to episode 9 of The Wild Beyond. But this episode is going to be a little bit different. The original footage and audio of episode 9 of The Wild Beyond is lost to the ages. So to understand this, let me tell you a little bit about how our podcast process works here at the moment. For City of the Crimson Tower, we started that when I already had the idea of creating this podcast in mind. So I recorded it using better quality techniques, let's say. For The Wild Beyond, we've already been playing that campaign for over a year at this point, and I hadn't even thought about turning these games into a podcast by then. So a lot of the early episodes of The Wild Beyond, the audio has simply been ripped from recordings of our streams. And luckily, I have a lot of those recordings and have saved them in a lot of places, but apparently somehow, through some crossed wires, episode 9 never got saved. So, what are we to do about that other than maybe just a little recap? The Wild Things have just reunited with Kieren, nicknamed Kai, the third of a trio that included Wraught and Melon. And they found Kai working as a bartender at an inn, a seemingly magical inn that wasn't there in the swamps of Hither just minutes before, but upon following these loud, crashing sounds, the Wild Things found the inn at the end of the road. And after reuniting with Kieren, the group spoke more with the proprietor of the inn, Sue. Sue informed the Wild Things of some strange things that had been happening. First of all, the wall of fog that was cutting off this section of the Feywild from the others never used to be here, and it's negatively impacting business, so obviously she's concerned about it. There have also been overlaps between the Feywild and other darker places. So upon learning about this, the Wild Things spoke with Sue further, had some food and drink, and right around this time, Gromp decided to go gamble with a couple of satyrs, which, unfortunately, didn't work out too well in his favor. And being in the Feywild, it isn't exactly coin that they were interested in, so, unfortunately, Gromp's beard fell out of his face, leaving a bald patch on his bugbear chin. This was remedied by some of the Wild Things, donations of hair and blue hair coloring that was acquired at the Witchlight Carnival. And the other individual that the Wild Things spent some time speaking with was this gnome bard that they had previously seen at the Witchlight Carnival. But this bard seemed something was off. She kept checking this journal, this blue journal that she had, while speaking with the Wild Things, and would make notes in there. At one point saying, "Oh, this is the third, second, and writing that down, time that we've met. Something was off about her, but despite that, she was very kind and welcoming and encouraging of the whole troop. Gromp began to play a song for the inn at the slight encouragement of Eliwick. Unfortunately, Gromp's luck did not improve, and the malady he had recently discovered, his inability to perform while Wraught looked at him, came into full play here. But with the encouragement of Eliwick, a clearly far more experienced bard, no offense, Gromp, Gromp was able to put on, by the end, one of the best performances of his life. The evening eventually began to draw to a close, and everyone saw their way to bed. In the morning, the group re-met up, and before checking out, before settling their tab, when speaking with Sue about that, Sue informed them that rather than payment in coin or anything of the sort, what she needed was a little bit of work done. Specifically, there was someone in the basement of the inn who had been drinking apparently copious amounts of alcohol and refused to leave, refused to pay up. Obviously bad for any businesswoman. So, she requested that the Wild Things remove this individual and ideally acquire agreement for payment. And so it was there, with the Wild Things descending into the basement, that this session left off. I will admit my retelling, not nearly as entertaining as the real thing, I promise you that, but the flaws of technology, and not really the technology's fault, it's probably mine, but we will see what happens from here in episode 10 of The Wild Beyond. See you there.